In and Out with Professor Yalman from Ankara TED University Studios at Radio TED-U. I have a very special guest today, Melissa Kurter. She is a lawyer. Are you?
I happen to be one, attorney at law, yes.
But, you know, with law and lawyers and everything, we just get goosebumps, you know. What do you guys do? You have this funny language also that nobody understands.
All right, so I would like to describe it as verbal maths, maybe, because when we start the law school, everyone is thinking that we're just, I don't know, reading huge books, trying to understand weird concepts. It's not only like that. I think it's quite a natural scientific method, and we're basically trying to make sure that we're formalizing something, and then the norm and the act goes with each other. Does it describe it to you, or does it make it?
No, it doesn't actually. It sort of fits into my perspective in a way because of the fact that when we were at Harvard, we were encouraged to take business law lessons, even though we were not going to become lawyers. But so it's like, you know, I treat it as well-being. Like everybody needs to know about well-being to have a good body, good spirit, good nutrition, whatever. So, you know, I think law shouldn't be something distant to people. It should be like closer to people, no?
I would say I agree, and I actually think, maybe you would think that I'm excessive, hopefully not, but I think it should be taught in elementary schools, like a form of it at least, to understand what's going on. Because like you said, it's actually is similar to well-being, and you have to understand what's going on in that field to make sure that you are living your life decently, because we do have a saying, and it's also in the Turkish Criminal Code as well. If you don't know the law, it's really not an excuse. So you should be understanding the concept as well to apply the rules decently. And for that, you would need some kind of theoretical, I couldn't.
Theory or?
No, theoretical
introduction.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that because I had this person in one of my podcasts, and he was talking about finance, and he was talking about that finance should be also introduced. Actually, the concept of money should be introduced in elementary schools, you know, because here in our society, maybe globally as well, more and more we, you know, want people to live according to certain values. But what is backed up with those values, we don't introduce. And that's, I think, a funny juxtapose, because then all of a sudden when you're in college, you start, or after college, you start understanding or try to understand certain things that which you should have actually come across like much earlier in life. So you said criminology. What sort of a lawyer are you? What are you a criminal lawyer? Like where do you work? You know,
Okay.
Well, a lot of people actually between 20 and my age, whatever, listen to this program globally. That's why we do it in English.
Right.
And so if you can name institutions, you can name institutions, no problem.
I can name institutions by highlighting something. So, okay, generally speaking, I'm an international criminal lawyer, which means I'm a little bit different than a usual criminal lawyer, because when I deal with crimes, they go around globally. And what I work on currently is about notices and diffusions of Interpol. So I'm an Interpol lawyer, but I do not work for Interpol. It's basically like saying I'm a tax lawyer. So basically, I take Interpol cases. So my clients are quite international criminals, and some NCVs, the National Central Bureaus of countries, they're looking for them. And I'm trying to make sure that Interpol, when they issue a notice or a diffusion, they are complying with their own rules, and it includes the commitment to human rights law, international human rights law.
How did you become?
Are I get
How
that
did you become
question a lot.
a lawyer? Okay, studying law. I'm not this. I'm not asking this. I'm not asking the question this way. I'm not saying what made you study law. No, how did you become, for God's sake, a woman like you, so intellectual, and now you're a PhD candidate. I know. And how the hell did you become an Interpol lawyer? Oh my God.
Okay, I believe in coincidences and I see them as luck. And sometimes you have to abandon one thing to make sure that another door opens up for you, you know? So I got my license from a Turkish university. I started to practice everything, but I have immigration background in my family. So the international crimes, like war crimes, genocide, it was always like a, well, lunch topic for us. I know it's a bit bizarre, but I was always curious about these topics. And at one point I realized, oh, okay, you know what? I really don't want to make my money on business law, whatever. I want to help people. I want to understand how a post-conflict society works, or how the heritage culture works. And then I've decided to study international criminal law as my master's. Then I was fascinated by it because when you look at it, you really are not bound with anything. And if you're a state, that means you've signed some kind of a contract, basically. And for International Criminal Court, it's the Rome Statute. So you signed it, but still, you're a state. So no one can actually force you to do anything when you think about it. So it's quite political. And I would love to see, at that point, I really wanted to see how this is working in the world, actually. And, well, not to my surprise, but I figured out that it was not working quite well.
So you sort of intern and work and experience like criminals in jail, or criminals that people are sort of seeking across borders, etc. You know, is it like a James Bond sort of a spy thing as well?
It is a spy thing. It's just at this point, I would say I'm a second lawyer, like a second level lawyer. So basically, my clients, they would have a local lawyer, and usually they are detained at some border and they're in trouble, and like most of the times they didn't know that they had a notice going after them. So to their surprise as well, and they're looking for us and saying, oh, you know what, I cannot live this X country, Y country, and like they've been keeping me here for the last, I don't know, 10 days, couple of months, you name it. Can you help me?
I always thought of you as a Bond girl, actually, but you know, you're more than the Bond girl. You're Bond herself, actually. So, what sort of qualities should a person have to be able to do a profession like that?
I would definitely say analytical thinking, and this is actually quite connected with the first thing that I said, because when we're practicing, we're doing verbal mathematics, and that's the case. When you look at a sentence, you have to understand what is made of, so you can dissolve it quickly and come up with a solution. I would say language skills help, like quite a lot, and I'm not only saying that because, oh, you should be speaking foreign languages, this and that. No, because it actually adds up to analytical skills as well.
Do you speak other languages as well?
I do.
What do you speak?
So
English,
Turkish is my
Turkish, yeah?
mother tongue. Yeah, English. I'm speaking it right now. I speak French, and Serbian, Bosnian, Croatian, Montenegrin is one language almost.
She's definitely a spy.
So that I have up to a certain level. Some Spanish, some German.
Oh my God!
But decently speaking,
Yeah.
English, Turkish, French.
Okay, all right, perfect. So you're saying that the qualities, and did you sort of looked into yourself before you went into this and say, okay, I have these qualities and I should pursue this, or did you understand on the way?
Well, I think I would say not really, because, well, every listener of this podcast has to understand one thing about the Turkish educational system. When you score high in your exams, when you're getting into the university level, you are encouraged to do some certain professions. Like you have to become a lawyer, you have to become a doctor, you have to be an engineer, this and that. So I had that motivation, and I had no idea what was I was getting myself into. So after a while, when I started to attend the classes on the first year, I figured out, oh, I know this. Like, this is maths actually. Now I can do it. Now it clicks. And after that, and I was introduced with legal philosophy and sociology.
Right.
And after that, I fell in love. Then it started to make sense, and I love it. But when I first started, it was frightening. Like,
How much of social psychology are you going through? I know that there's a lot of individual psychology into this, but what about social psychology? I'm interested in, because when we talk about crime, criminals, etc.,
yeah.
we're talking about also sort of a diversification as well. You know, there's also diversity there. You know, where we, you know, put those people to one side and
Yeah.
say, you know, we don't look at the reason why they become criminals. We just label them as criminals, and we distance ourselves. And there you have this diversity. And well, nowadays we're talking about diversity and inclusion in a lot of institutions like companies, schools, whatever. So that's why I would sort of divide my question into two. How much of social psychology are you dealing with, and what about the diversity and inclusion of these people into the society?
That's the perfect question for a criminal lawyer, I swear. Because philosophically speaking, it answers quite some needs that we have. So with the social psychology part that I work on, it depends on what job I'm doing at that point. But I did intern for a UN tribunal before and for the prosecution's office. That means I dealt with war crimes. I would say déindividualisation. So, like,
Oui.
not being the individual anymore that you were before you got integrated in a society, defines those type of crimes quite well.
Okay.
So think about the Nazi Germany, for
Right.
instance. When you look at those individuals, the soldiers that committed those horrible crimes, on a personal level, they wouldn't be doing so. There are quite a lot of paradigms to explain their behavior, because there are a lot of social experiments that proved us when you're under pressure, when you are getting a command, when you feel like the other individuals of the society share some kind of an anger, it's contagious. And then you start to practice horrible acts as well. So this is where I come in if I'm working on international criminal law, as in like crimes against humanity, war crimes, genocide,
Yes.
stuff like that. But when I'm doing Interpol cases, I would say it really stays on the individualistic level. So maybe my personal experience right now doesn't correspond to it quite well. Can I get to the second question again?
Yeah, diversity and inclusion. Like
Oh, yeah.
we sort of label these people, and they're like criminals, and then we exclude them from the society, and all of a sudden we're dealing with a different group of people who actually need to be included.
Exactly. Actually, I think we should be talking about the prison systems here. So we believe, I mean, this is the philosophy behind it, but I know how it's being practiced in my country and in some other countries as well. Some prison conditions are quite horrible, so it's not going to make you a better person for sure, because we have to differentiate between two things. When we're talking about criminal law, it's not about giving someone a punishment so the society feels better. And this was like that before. When you look at some medieval punishments, it's quite torturous, and you do not see any good outcome of it. Yes, people are frightened, but then the crime rates, they're still there. So it's really not helping. So what's helping? When we're looking at Nordic countries, for instance, you see a better working prison system, because I'm a criminal lawyer, because these are still people. They have human rights. We have to make sure that whatever institution that is, the detention institution, they have to comply with the norms and regulations of the international community. And when we are not treating a criminal a suspect, Right. We're making sure that they're making better connections in prison and they're not willing to be a part of the society, but they're getting more and more marginalized. And I do not have a certain idea to solve that problem. There are a lot of scientific research going on about this, and I really do hope that we would be able to find a system more education based, more than detaining people in some very gray, very thick walls. And I think they should be taught some more social concepts, maybe some more social work, and it should be about giving back to the society because you took something. You see?
Okay. Do we have a concept like innovation in law? Like because like as humanity progresses, as you were like referring to the medieval times and where belief systems were more, even actually now, very, very more strict.
Yeah.
Then there were like different punishment and regulative issues about torture or even things like taking lives and and all that. I don't want to go into the different things, but can we innovate in law so that legal system also progresses as we progress as humanity, or is there something very, very basics in law that there's no fine tuning possible?
Yeah, no, well, I believe the fine tuning is quite possible, and maybe we can do this separation of definitions. There are these normatic law, the law books that we have, the penal code, everything like that. And then there is the living law. So sometimes in countries, they really do not go together. You see that? And even when we can maybe think about the Turkish Revolution, there was something written, but then people were practicing something else. And then a social time comes for change, and people are getting adjusted to a new system and then new beliefs and coming up with something else that goes with that society's character. So if it's not going to happen that way, innovation is not quite possible. But then the society itself actually pushes you through decisions that you should be taking for them, because there is a saying, every society is being administrated the way they deserve. It's not something punitive when we say this. When I use this expression, I mean there is a society and they want it to be ruled that way. This is why they're acting this way, so they are getting that administration, and when they get whatever that administration would be, that is also making the law for them. So innovation is always there, and theoretically speaking, yes, there are clinics, people are working on this, there are quite a lot of academicians trying to come up with new ideas to, like the one that we just spoke about, to come up with a better prison system, to understand what is causing this. Criminology itself is working on quite a lot of things. But at the end of the day, society actually pushes you through a door for you to find something, and it really doesn't even have to be on the academical level. It's happening in every single society, big or small.
So what's next for Melissa Kurta? I know that you're a PhD candidate. You're doing your PhD on what?
Okay, so I'm a PhD candidate on public law, and I wanted my PhD thesis to be on Interpol systems, International Police Corporation in general, and the human rights violations, and how they could be held accountable. Because, it's not a court, it's not a state, so it's quite an interesting organization, and I wanted to see what was going on there. So I would say, starting from this point, I would be reading a lot of articles and writing some, and I would wait for the next best thing. But my dream job would be to work in an international NGO to help people working on rule of law in post-conflict societies.
For our listeners who are just about to choose a topic to study, or even those listeners who have concluded their 4-year undergrad education and thinking about a master's degree, etc., what would be your recommendations on studying law?
My recommendation wouldn't be on studying law. I would say go work for a bit, just for a bit, maybe even for a year, because it is going to teach you what you hate. And this is very, very important. If you're lucky enough, you would just land on the thing that you happen to like. And this is, of course, perfect. But most of the times, people are either choosing something based on, oh, I cannot do this, or they see that they're quite interested in this and they see some practical problems in the industry and they want to work on something specific, and the working experience, interning experience is going to teach you that.
Okay, perfect. Well, we had Melissa Kurter. I can continue talking to her for hours and hours and expand on the psychological aspect of these things. But to make it more enjoyable for you, we'll carry on this on a different episode, and we will have her as our guests later on as well, hopefully one day. Professor Yalman in and out with Professor Yalman at Radio TED-U, Ankara Studios at TED University, Ankara campus. We had Melissa Kurter. So do I call you lawyer Kurter? Avocado, avocado ticket.
I did like the Bond girl. Yeah, you can go with that one.
And thank you very much for coming in. It was a very delightful topic to talk about, and very expansive actually at the same time. So we'll hope to see you again.
Hopefully, I would enjoy it to the max. Thank you.
Thank you.